I've known Naomi for a long time, since what, like back in the 20, no man, like
2010,
2000?
2011, 2010 or
Wow.
2011, something like that. So almost 10 years. Holy shit. We're old. I'm
I've
old.
known you for a long time.
Yeah.
We met at Marshall's boot camp, right? I was
Yes.
I was working for him for a bit. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that is so, that's like 100 years ago. Feels like.
And I always tell Naomi and Henry, her partner, that they have never aged. They look the same. For
Uh,
sure. But Naomi, I just wanted to recap, like, ever since I've known you, you have been running for a long time. So you've been a runner for a while. You've done boot camps. You've tried a whole slew of HIIT training.
mhm.
Over the years, as you've gone through all those types of training, what started to happen with your body? What did you notice about your running performance? How did things change for you over time?
So I started running after we had met.
Oh,
So I started running for real like in 2013, like long distances. And I did my first marathon kind of on my own because I had a fellowship in Pittsburgh, and so I was just on my own, just doing the training. So I think I didn't necessarily have people to, like, when things started going wrong. um, I had really good health insurance, so I started going to physical therapy because I was having issues with my left hamstring and my left foot.
mm,
And then I ran the marathon, and then my foot was just like kind of in a really bad place. Like it was really sore, and like I had numbness between my second and third toes. My
mm,
toes were black from the marathon, which is kind of normal, that happens, but it just wasn't getting any better. And
mm.
so I continued to go to physical therapy. And just like over the years, there's always been something kind of happening maybe once every 12 months. And then recently, why I've been coming to you is because I've been kind of cycling in and out like twice a year.
Oh,
So
okay.
and it migrates. So what happened when I got in touch with you is my right hip was like so sore I couldn't walk very much long
Mm,
distances because I, again, this past summer, because of COVID, I didn't do any. I just trained on my own and then ran a marathon on my own, and then afterwards my hip was just like really not in a good place. And but like there's been other stuff like my knee, my
mm.
ankles, like my feet are always an issue. Also, when I saw you, my left arm was an issue, which has nothing to do with running, but I couldn't hold a plank. So like there's just, I think I thought I was just getting older, like my knees were cracking more and things like this, but what I'm learning is that that's not just the case. It doesn't just happen like that. So yeah, but I think I'm just kind of sick of going into, I have really good physical therapists, just to be
Mhm,
clear,
mhm.
but I just felt like kind of tired of like having to go there every 6 months for some new thing. It's just kind
Yeah.
of, it's a lot of time. It's very time consuming, and the expense builds up, and I was just tired of it. So
Yeah. No, for sure. I think, all those things building up, it seems to be a common thing with anyone that does anything athletic, period. So like something athletic to me, or even objectively, empirically, would be running, sprinting, throwing, rotating, changing direction. Any of those five things will involve athletics. And funny enough, when you talked about the elbow having nothing to do with running, someone else who's also a runner, marathon runner,
huh.
also developed the elbow issue on her right side, and her right leg has an issue, her right foot has an issue, just kind of like how your left side.
Yeah.
So, funny enough, one thing that I've learned over the past few years, and even working with you and several other people, is that the moment something goes off on one part of the chain, something upstream, as you've learned with me, will also be a little bit off. Even like the foot position when we did yesterday, like once you fix your foot position, it changed the knee,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So I remember when you sent me the assessment, you're like, man, everything's jacked up. But to me, I was like, that's probably just the foot and the hip. I mean, that's why I wanted to focus on. So I can imagine for you, and I wanted to get your insight emotionally, for you, it would seem like it would be like that whole like processing everything you're feeling in your body sensation stuff. Was that overwhelming? And was that just, were you frustrated with that? What were you feeling in that time?
When we first started working together, or
Yeah,
like the
yeah. When we
injury.
first started, even before we started,
Uh-huh.
what were you going through emotionally with all those sensations? Because you have like a stressful job plus.
Yeah. Yeah. I have always used running as like kind of like oh, like a mental health kind of thing. So
Mhm.
I think like having to go from running marathon training to nothing was kind of hard
Yeah.
emotionally. And then also TBH, like the stage one exercises are extremely boring,
Hmm.
and like they're challenging but not in a fun way. So which is kind of like some of the stressful parts of the job are like also challenging but not in a fun way that's making me grow. So I felt like that's not exactly what was happening here, but it just wasn't that fun.
Hmm.
So I feel like that was kind of that was kind of challenging, but I think because I trust you and because I knew that this was all building towards something, and then you always answer. I ask lots of questions every session. I don't know if you've noticed. I don't know if other people ask as many questions either, if this is just me, but I ask a lot of questions and you're always really good about explaining everything. And so I understand, like, I have some kind of understanding of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And also, doing the assessment, like I could tell this shoulder was like really far up,
Hmm.
and like things were just so like doing the weird stuff with the band and like this and like whatever. I understood that it had a purpose.
Mm.
So I felt like understanding that what we were doing was going backwards to go forwards. I think mentally understanding I was just like, we're just gonna do that. We're doing something else right now. And I can't see people anyways. I can't be with running groups. I
Hmm.
can't go work out at the place where I did hit training. So we're just gonna
Yeah.
do this other thing, and then hopefully in 6 months I'll be able to go back to what I usually do and
Yeah.
really enjoy.
Yeah. I think what you mentioned about the first part of the phase being boring or really intense,
Mhm.
I think, in a lot of ways, that whole first phase, what's difficult about it too is that it makes people like immediately present to every little
Mhm.
vulnerability and weakness and tightness. And it's kind of like, oh my God, the brain is being inundated with like all this discomfort. I'm already uncomfortable. Like it feels like that's what's probably going on for a lot of people. And from the people I've talked to so far, that's what they've mentioned. Would you say that's accurate for you too? Where it's like everything is just, oh,
It is, but I was already like feeling discomfort and pain just in my daily.
mhm.
That like I was just like, I need this to structurally get at the root of the problem
Yes.
and like resolve the problem. And
Yeah.
so like even as we started working together, my elbow started feeling better to where I could like hold the plank or whatever. And like my hip was not hurting so much anymore.
Yeah.
And like I've always had, like, for example, a really tight right hip flexor.
Yeah.
Like the psoas muscle has always been a really big problem, which also causes like back pain and like
Yeah.
whatever. And I knew that. And it's like there was no amount of stretching that I could do that would actually resolve the problem. So I was just like, I was kind of just ready mentally to go backwards in order to resolve these problems. And like, oh, by the way, my right hip popped like in a very satisfying way yesterday. It was very
Yeah.
satisfying. I was like, oh, like you could hear it so loud. It was really nice. So
I
I
love
think
it.
it's like
You
on
know,
external rotation. It's
the
really good.
what Naomi's referring to, guys, is like the body starts to naturally adjust, like have chiropractic adjustments over time without having to forcefully do it. And so whenever she gets a pop, she celebrates, and that's awesome. I'm the same too. Like I'm like, oh, my back just popped like 5 times.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's awesome. Uh, I think that's poignant too. It's like when you're just sick and tired of always being in discomfort, you're just ready. That's where you were, because it's this work is not easy, but I think it was important for you and I to spend a lot of time together, because I think it's easy to slip back into those thought patterns of, oh, I don't know,
Yeah.
I can do this, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Because from where you were, at least like as your coach now, me looking back, what I'm going to do is actually compile a highlight video for you and send it to you, because I want you to see where you started.
Yeah.
And what I was watching the videos last night, and in the beginning we spent so much time on the floor, just like
Yes.
everything was okay. If you remember that.
Going like this.
Yes. Over and over and over. It was very much wax on, wax off, kind of like, okay, we're doing this, then we're doing this, doing this. And you're like, man, when are we gonna do something fun? And for me to watch that, to then present moment, seeing you do things like Nordic hamstring curls, where you're like bringing your whole body down, lifting it up with your hamstrings, to holding 35s, which you could barely hold on to, a pair of 35s, and doing like deadlifts on the bench, deadlifts off the bench, then starting to do pull-ups, starting to do all these different things that are strength and conditioning based. What was that like for you? Because I remember even in the moment, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can ever hold this for that long. I don't know if I could ever do this many reps. What was that experience for you, like being able to disconfirm even your own belief systems there?
Yeah, I mean, I think because you're good about setting things up to where you can actually have progress markers.
Yeah.
That is also very helpful. So like the hollow hangs, being able to build up to 2 minutes is like kind of, it just tells me where I'm at, and it tells me that I'm actually moving forward. If I felt like I was not moving forward in any way, not making any progress, I think that I would be really frustrated right now.
Yeah.
But my body is feeling, I still have like some aches and pains periodically, mainly because my posture sucks. But like I think my body has been feeling better without having to get massages and chiropractic things, because like I'm scared to go because of COVID.
Sure.
And so I wasn't going to the chiropractor for a while. So I was really just not feeling good. But like that has kind of resolved itself. And then also, yeah, I think seeing that I am getting better. Or it's like early, because my body was so uneven. And then so every now and again you would just make me, take my shirt off. And so we'd just look. And so seeing the left shoulder, it's not completely even with the right yet, but it's like so much more even than it was.
Mm-hmm.
And just like things like that are I do think my toes still have a ways to go, but they are getting better, so stuff like that I think has been helpful.
That's awesome. So feet have been, I mean, to me too, when I've looked at, I think the pancakes is pretty awesome, because it's very clear from going from maybe like 10, 15 pounds to 35s, which is basically half body weight. And then being able to do for 40 reps in a row. And then now you're doing it hovering off the chair. And then we're going to do it straight legged. And then we're going to keep doing crazier and crazier shit until, your body's just getting used to the wildest positions possible. So that running just feels like a very simple thing compared to what you do in training. And that's the idea, is make your training more complex, such that the thing that you love to do, the thing that you just do repetitively, feels like this is just normal, easy stuff. If I can hold 70 pounds of my body, and I can use my legs, and I can hook my legs into a couch and make myself go all the way down and carry all my body weight with my hamstrings. Like, that's a crazy thought if you think about it that way. It's like my hamstrings are holding my entire body to go from here to there. I think I'm really stoked about your Nordics, because you keep getting lower. Of course, it gets harder as a result, but I'm looking forward to the day when you kiss the floor and you come right back up, because it's gonna be freaking cool to see. I only have a few people that can do it, but I think you're going to get there faster than you think. Obviously not in the next month or anything, but faster than you think. So that's exciting for me. And now also I wanted to ask you, so you progressed from all the soft tissue work, the wrapping and gua shying, to then now you're doing strength work, all these weird movements. And now you've kind of migrated, if you will, you've migrated a little bit into what I call the conditioning realm, where your heart's starting to pump starting to get out of breath. What has that been like for you? Like, because I mean, like you've done HIIT training, but this is like it's like a structured HIIT. How is that process for you?
It's really different because I don't feel out of breath until I finish. And
Yes.
then I'm like, whew, oh God, oh, I need to like catch my breath. But while we're in it, I don't feel out of breath. Whereas like if I'm doing like a track workout, like I am out of breath during the exercise, or like if we're doing Tabata or like something, whatever, like I feel out of breath during the movement. So I
Mhm.
just feel like it feels differently. I've told you this before. I am nervous about getting back into the more HIIT kind of stuff and then like actual track workouts because like I am in my 40s. I lose fitness very quickly. So and I hate cardio. I know that sounds weird as a runner, but I kind of hate feeling out of breath and
Mhm.
like breathing heavy. I really hate it. So I'm kind of scared of that. But like I'm trusting the process. And
Yeah.
so but it's that workouts are more fun
Mhm.
because we're doing more strenuous things and yeah, where I do feel like my like there's more movement, there's literally more movement involved. It's not just like one joint or whatever. So it's more fun in that way.
I think what's fun for me to see, and, it's always different from applying to coach, right? And as a coach, I'm like, man, she can actually just do the workout, not think about, oh, this thing hurts, or oh, this thing hurts, and this thing's bugging me. And then we have to stop the workout,
Mhm,
go do this thing.
mhm,
And who knows if that one thing is actually going to make the workout go well.
mhm,
And for me, it's like, okay, we took care of this stuff. It was like taking in putting in the medicine and just taking the bitter medicine, take it down
mhm.
the hatch. And then we went to the thing that we're gonna probably enjoy more. And now we can just do a full-fledged like hour and a half of just we're just banging it out, like go, 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 go. So that was fun for me because I was getting frustrated with previous clients before I started this new program, where it's like they want to do this crazy intense workout, but then we have to stop them because in my mind, if I kept going, I'm gonna tear their knee, or I'm gonna tear their hip. So I was like, why don't we just do it? Yes, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna suck, but then we get to the thing, and then it's like we just get to enjoy it. Right. So that was fun for me to see is you went from just oh my God, I hate this. And then it's like,
Yeah,
and there's still things you might not like,
yeah,
but it's more like you can get through it. It's like, okay, it's just work, it's getting the muscles on.
yeah.
And with that being said, what was the connection journey for you? Because I keep, telling, hey, Naomi, where do you feel it? Where do you
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
it? And I remember in the beginning, it was like, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Mhm.
And now you can tell me, I feel but, but. It's kind of, you tell it to me voluntarily now, which is really cool. So what was that like for you?
I have decent body awareness coming into this, so I think that helps.
Yeah.
Just from working out and doing yoga and like so much years of physical therapy. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of helped. But I think for me, the biggest thing was like understanding that the top half and the bottom half are connected in particular ways. Like I
Mm.
know that abstractly that like the
Yeah.
whole body works as a unit, blah blah. But like I think like understanding more specifically how the lats are supposed to be on when doing push-ups, for example, like that was kind of a revelation for me. And I was like, oh, push-ups are a lat exercise, and that actually makes me able to do them once I'm, like do them properly with proper form and stuff like that. So I feel like making certain kinds of connections that are more holistic in nature has
Yeah.
been really helpful for me. And
Mhm.
I've always known that like my left foot problem and my right hip problem were connected, but I didn't understand how that worked.
Mhm.
And I've also known that like my back body chain, our kinetic chain, is pretty weak compared to the front, but I
Mhm.
didn't know how to fix it. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So I have known that I have certain kinds of these problems, but I didn't know why that they were, and I knew that they were connected, but I didn't understand why or how to fix it. And so I feel like that has been really helpful, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. So
That's awesome. Yeah. I think the connection piece is this is probably the most important piece. And when you tell me, oh my God, my glutes, I'm like, I'm celebrating in my mind, but also I'm empathizing because I know it's freaking intense as hell.
Yeah.
And same with Nordics. But yeah, that's really great. I think that's what I look for. If someone can have that and say you go off on your own eventually and do your thing, and if I've left you with that, I'm a happy person because I've imparted you with the gift of knowing how to access your body in a very empowering way. It's like if I don't feel this thing, I can just fire these things and I feel better. And as we get into running, it's going to be, I'm going to keep imparting more things to you because there's infinite things I can just keep giving you. And I wanted to let you know, as you're transitioning and meandering through this stuff, and as you go to conditioning, what's going to happen is that right now, usually what happens is people go through an exercise, they're out of breath at the end during conditioning. What's going to happen slowly is that your movements will start to feel like you're out of breath during and after.
Mhm.
And then it's like a slow build. You've probably seen this. It's like a slow build where it starts to slowly feel like the thing you've done.
Mhm.
And that's the idea of like it gets a little closer, but not quite. We're just holding off a little bit more. And then as you go to the next month, it's going to feel like you're out of breath, probably a lot. And that's a good thing because that's what's going to mimic more and more of what you're doing. But I did want to ask you one more thing, and that is, what would you say? This is the question I ask everyone. What would you say if there were three big insights that people can take away from what you've learned in this style of training? And if someone's a fellow runner or they have running as part of their sport, or even rather, we haven't got to running yet, so let's just say this: if they have bodily pain everywhere,
Mhm.
what are three big things you can impart to people that you've learned from this process? Just like pop, pop, pop.
On their own, to do on their own, or
No, just this in general. Like, what did you? If someone else is watching this and they're like, "Man, I wish I knew these things, these three things," what would you say would be important? Not necessarily to do, but just what three things did you learn?
I think that to solve, like if you have chronic issues, right? Like having to ice certain parts all the time or getting recurrent injuries or just like stiffness in your back and neck and stuff like that, just like chronic stuff. I feel like this is kind of a joke, but it's like when you turn into your 30s, you think about your back in a way that you've never thought about your back before. And then when you go into your 40s, you think about all kinds of stuff you never had to think about before. But I think a lot of that has to be that you really need to go get to the root of the problem, which is almost never just located in the one place where you're experiencing pain, right? That the body works entirely all together as a system. And so in order to resolve like your upper back or neck pain, you actually have to think about all these other things. And same with like whatever my foot, or like, my back, my lower back, whatever, like all of it is connected. And that sometimes like the root of the problem is not where you think it is, And so for me, because I had so many things going on, like really getting this holistic view or this holistic approach has been, I think, the only thing that has really, I feel like, moved me forward. You know what I mean? And I'm also, for people who are older, I also think that like I've always been of the mind that if you just work harder, like it will be fine. But I think that I'm realizing that is not true. And I'm learning that also in my actual professional life too. I don't have the endurance that I used to like my work process just needs to change because like I am changing, and like my capacity for stuff is also changing. So I think that has also been really important, that you can't just like work harder to get through to make things go right. You actually have to identify the real problem first. You have to diagnose
Yep.
it properly in order to find the correct solution, which I say this all the time in my work. You know what I mean? I'm just like, you can't just like throw stuff to get, you have to actually understand what is the problem, how did we get here? And then it's only when you do that that you can really come up with real solutions. but I
Mhm.
haven't really thought about that in terms of my own body. And so this has been really helpful. So,
Wow,
mhm,
that that's awesome.
mhm.
I think along the lines of the profession stuff. Same here, man. I'm just like I cannot keep going the way I used to. I'm not 18, 24, 25. Um, but that's really cool. It's really cool that you were able to draw that parallel because it is. And for me, it's like I'm so involved in the physical movement side, but it very much is the same in my personal life too. It's like, well, I need to look at it the same way I look at the body, and it's the same.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this is exactly what I wanted to do today is just pick your brain a little bit, and we're moving forward into more and more interesting movements. And I think you might be a little bit.
Ricky.
I'll say it this way: you'll
Whiny.
be like you'll be like, what the hell is this new movement? So next month we're going to show you some new movements, right?
Yeah.
And you'll be like, there's no way I can do this new thing. But of course, as always, you end up doing it, which is exciting for me to see. So I'm excited to show you those things, and we'll keep moving forward.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you so
awesome.
much.
I appreciate that you're willing to work with me on starting running a little earlier, a little earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I really feel like I've done the work and been patient, and I'm getting kind of itchy. So
Yeah. And
I appreciate your flexibility.
yeah, and like it's just a matter of us communicating about it. So if you're like, hey, I felt this thing,
Mhm.
then I can help you and help you navigate the thing. And that's all it needs to be.
Mhm.
If it goes like to haywire, then we can pull back a little bit and say, okay, let's fix it. That's all.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Cool. I'm gonna take us off the live.